This prompt made me keep thinking how there's plenty of books that I would love to read again because of the nostalgia that they created me. And so I kept getting confused with which manga should I do for this week and last week's prompt. Hello friends, happy Wednesday. So very excited that you're here. It is another week of Top 5 Wednesday and very excited for this prompt. I'm hoping all of my picks fit very well because I had to really think about the nostalgia aspect, which is actually today's prompt. Manga that make you feel all the nostalgia, which is why I was saying that I wrestled with. I feel like if it makes me nostalgia, usually I want to read it again for the first time, which was last week's prompt if you'd like to check it out. But let me pause here. If you're not familiar with Top 5 Wednesday, in a nutshell, basically each week I answer a prompt using 5 books, but in this case I do manga to reflect the said prompt. And like I said, today's prompt is manga that makes you feel nostalgic. I had to really think about this prompt because at first I only had like 3, and honestly I was gonna be like, today is Top 3 Wednesday. But what I decided to do was actually flip back through my reading journal of this year and see what manga did I read, what kind of feelings did they create in me that would be really good for this prompt. And one of them that came to mind that I'll go ahead and start off is number 1, Karate Heat. I loved this 3-volume manga series. It was definitely cut short. The ending isn't bad, but I wanted so much more. And the reason that this manga makes me feel nostalgic is because when I started volume 1, it just reminded me why I love and adore sports manga. This manga checked all those check boxes, and I was really sad that a lot of people felt that this manga didn't really have anything special to it, that it was very similar to other sports manga, but that was exactly why I loved it. When I first was reading it, it reminded me of a mashup of like Haikyuu and Kuroko's basketball, where we have that, I guess you would say, fire and ice kind of personality, where Hinata is very vibrant and Kageyama is very grumpy. I guess vibrant and energetic would be another word too. And then Kuroko's basketball, we have that same kind of duo in the, I've only seen the anime, I haven't read the manga, but we actually have all of it, but anyway, that's a story for another day. Between both of those series, I love both of them for different reasons. And so when I started Karate Heat, it honestly just felt like that, though the main characters felt different enough where it didn't feel like I was reading a cookie cutter of like Haikyuu with Hinata and Kageyama or with Kuroko and Taiga. I didn't feel that way. So I was relieved on that, but I feel like this series has a special place in my heart because of that nostalgia feeling, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I wish it was just longer because that is like the only negative thing I have to say about that manga. Also, maybe too, that it's a digital only series, and I really wish it was a physical because I would totally buy it if it was. For number 2, this is gonna sound really weird, okay? And I'm gonna say Like a Butterfly. I read it this past weekend. So incredibly good. I came in with high expectations because hello, Sumo Ishida, it has to be really good, and it really was. The nostalgia came in, so when I was reading this, it gave me all the warm fuzzies, all the butterflies, no pun intended or anything. Honestly, it reminded me when I started reading Haikyuu fanfiction. I love fanfiction, though I only read the Haikyuu fluff. Like, that's honestly the hashtag that I use on Tumblr when I read it, and I just started getting back into reading Haikyuu fanfiction again, and I read this really great piece with Asamu. I feel like the feelings that were in this manga that I was feeling reminded me of the feelings of when I'm reading, especially that piece, since it was the first one I read recently, since it's been like quite a few months, but it just created all that nostalgia for the feelings that I feel when I'm reading my Haikyuu fluff fanfiction. It just makes me feel so happy, and like I said, all the warm fuzzies, and I love it so much. And so when I was reading this, I had that instant nostalgia like within the first chapter that I was like, oh my goodness, this makes me want to go read some Haikyuu fanfiction after I finish this. I didn't because I was like, I'm not ready to leave these characters because it was very fluffy, very beautiful. So I don't know if anybody else can relate to that kind of feeling, but it definitely gave me the nostalgia, and I have actually been reading more fanfiction since I read this manga because of the nostalgia and just the remembering that feeling of just, man, I want that feeling to kind of stay and not go anywhere, and that's why I love reading fanfiction. So obviously there's a crossover because that's how I am when I'm reading manga as well. And I will just say this is really good. Totally go read it. I cannot wait for volume 2. For number 3, I'm so excited to talk about this one, though it's been a little bit since I've read it, but I am saying Yusutoki Rhetoric, specifically volume 2. When I read this, oh my goodness, the nostalgia was real. The the mysteries and the cases that these characters are solving gave me all of the Scooby-Doo vibes. And growing up, I was obsessed with Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo. We even named our cat, no, we didn't name our cat Scooby, but we did name one Scrappy. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is my favorite kind of mystery because Scooby-Doo is just amazing. The new stuff we won't talk about because I'm like, that is not Scooby-Doo. Maybe that's just me feeling nostalgic for the original cartoon and everything, but I love this. I will say volume 3, which I read recently, was much more creepier. It did not give me the same Scooby-Doo vibes, but volume 2 specifically did. I really enjoyed it. Kaneko, our main girl, is amazing, and I really feel like her desire to help people, and as she's learning about why people tell lies, what's their meaning behind them telling lies, which that relates more to volume 3, really resonates, and I just love her passion, and our main guy is hilarious. Like, he's so funny. So I wouldn't say like the characters themselves remind me of Scooby-Doo in any kind of way, but I really do feel that for the majority of this manga, that just the detective work reminds me of Scooby-Doo, and it makes me so happy, which like I was a little bit bummed with the volume 3 that it didn't have that same nostalgia for me, but I definitely already have volume 4 in pre-order because I really like it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this series goes and hoping that there will be more Scooby-Doo nostalgia because I love Scooby-Doo. Like, even as an adult, I'm like, I just need more of it. So I would love to see more of those vibes in this manga. For number 4, I hope that I can explain why I chose this one pretty well because I feel like I might struggle with it, but that is Magic Knight Ray Earth. I absolutely love this series. Shae at Shae Geeks Out got me into this series because she felt it was better than Sailor Moon, and I was like, what? So I do have a video review if you'd like to check out my in-depth thoughts, of course spoiler free. I chose this one because I feel like when I was reading Magic Knight Ray Earth, it gave me all the nostalgia of when I loved Sailor Moon as a kid. Obviously, these are very different series. Yes, they fit the magical girl genre, but I feel like both of them have different elements and bring something unique to the magic girl table, so to speak, that makes them very different series. I haven't read Sailor Moon, like I haven't read the manga, so I didn't feel like I could actually do that one. But when I read Magic Knight Ray Earth, it definitely just reminded me and I guess gave me the nostalgia as a kid of how awesome I felt Sailor Moon was, like magical girls in general were. And I feel like I somehow forgot that because like this was probably my first magic girl manga as an adult. Like I haven't read anything else. Like Sailor Moon was the gateway to anime and such, and then I guess just sort of grew up, and I wouldn't say like I grew out of Sailor Moon or anything like that, but I didn't really have the same influences as I did as a kid since I didn't know anybody except for one friend, which will be related to a different pick later. They were the only person I knew that was into manga and anime, so I didn't have that same kind of influence. And so I felt like when I started this series and was reading it, and I was even skimming over it a little bit this morning, and I was actually just looking at the manga this morning, the paperback, because I'm like, I sort of want to double dip on this series because it was just such a nostalgic experience, I feel like, and just a reminder of how wonderful magical girls are, that they are super cool, and you don't have to be a kid to appreciate them. You can be an adult and still think they're just as awesome, especially with their transformations. Granted, we don't have like any like Sailor Moon transformation, so to speak, in Magic Knight Ray Earth, but these ladies, these girls are absolutely amazing, and I really just enjoyed this story, and I feel like it does have a special place in my heart because just that nostalgia and just the reminder again of how awesome magical girls are. And I definitely want to read, is it Tokyo Mew Mew? Or I think that's the one, but they're like cats, or they have like cat-like qualities to them. I really want to read that one. I do have volume 1 digitally, like the omnibus. Pretty sure my library has it, but I haven't got around to actually reading it. But that is one thing I really do want to add more to my reading, is reading those magical girls, and very much enjoy feeling like just all that happiness that I did as a little girl when I watched her Sailor Moon transforming and doing all these cool things. I will not answer the question I said at the beginning of this pick of was it better than Sailor Moon, because I haven't actually read the manga, but I definitely had a lot of feelings on this, and I still to this day feel it has one of the most shocking plot twists that I've ever read. Like, that plot twist lives rent-free in my head, though it probably I should be charging it some rent because I was just so shocked and dumbfounded that I was not able to keep reading. It'd be cool to find another manga that hits me the same way and gives me nostalgia than for this series. That would be super duper cool. For number 5, I'm really excited to feature this one, and that is Snarth the Red Hare. I recently just read it and did a review on it if you'd like to check it out. And I'm saying this one because when I first started or restarted reading this series again this past summer, the nostalgia, man. Oh my goodness. This was one of the very first manga recommendations I ever received when I started getting into manga. Library Wars was my very first one, and then Kitchen Princess, and then Snow with the Red Hair. And so it was a very cool feeling to start this series fresh and just be able to dive into it with, I guess that nostalgia that was backing my feelings, because I'm like, wow, I remember getting so many recommendations for this and how great it is, and just to totally love these characters so much. In fact, I was just telling my mom yesterday, because usually when I'm like at home and I'm not filming or going out, I always have my hair up. And so she was like, oh my goodness, what happened to your hair? And I'm like, well, you see, I was reading this manga and I finally got inspired to cut my hair, and that is many thanks to Shirayuki. That doesn't have any nostalgia value. I just want to share that, but I feel like this series in general has a lot of special feelings for me and is very precious to me in general, not just because I cut my hair because of Shirayuki. Like, I've been wanting to do it for a while, so it wasn't like a random decision or anything. I mean, I guess it was, but it wasn't, if that makes sense. Like, I had already wanted to, but seeing Shirayuki girl boss it out and just how she slays in the beginning, I was like, man, I want to be cool like Shirayuki too. So going back though to the nostalgia, it was just really amazing to me, I guess, of seeing how far I've come and just remembering that love that I wanted to have for manga and how it has bloomed since that time. Like, it's so cool, man. It is so cool, and I just thank you guys for everybody who watches my videos, shares things with me about like what they thought of my videos. Thankfully has been like positive things, but it's really surreal, and I never imagined being at this point, and that adds another layer to all the nostalgia that I have for this series. It's very beautiful, very heartwarming, and absolutely love it. For my honorable mention, I'm gonna go with the series Mars, and I don't know how nostalgic this series actually is for me, but the friend that I mentioned that got me, or was my only influence as a teenager that loved manga and anime, she got me into this series when I was a teenager, and I never finished it because the series was still ongoing at that time, but I never forgot that moment. I never forgot the impact that not only the series, like manga in general, had on me, but I would say specifically this manga, which I do have a review of because I finally finished reading it last year. Was really exciting, was very rewarding, a very emotional and impactful series that I was like, whew, also really deep. Come in like with your tissues and just be ready for all of the things that happen. But again, I don't feel like this is a hugely nostalgia series for me, but I did think if I could go back, I would go back to those moments, because I'm just so thankful for my friend introducing me to manga and that she was very passionate about it. Like, she loved Fruits Basket, and I feel bad because I chose Mars over Fruits Basket, and she had some other series, but I just remember those were the two big ones that I was most interested in that time. So I feel like Mars, even though I don't have much to say about this one, I do feel like it was a good honorable mention that just brought back fond memories for me that I would love to re-experience and just relive, because of just everything surrounding that, the friendship that I had with her at that time, and just really, you know, having, I guess, that seed planted for the love of manga, because it's such a beautiful moment, I feel like, for each and every person of when we get hooked. And though I wasn't super hooked in that moment, Mars definitely was a stepping stone that led me to reading manga as much as I do now. And that, my friends, wraps up my nostalgic picks. Hopefully I did well, because again, I feel like when it's got the nostalgia, I really want to read it again for the first time, and just, I'm so thankful for all these series and how they've impacted me and how much I love them and just everything with it. It's so awesome. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some manga that make you feel nostalgic that you would love to recreate that feeling and just reread again? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!